Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisco Gaming, and today we've got an update for Rise of Kingdoms that's got some cool stuff to collect. Namely, a new ranged commander was revealed, and you can see the active skill animation is a boat shooting cannons, which has to be the coolest range skill animation we've gotten so far, and he does some area of effect skill damage, which we're going to need to talk about. But before we do, let me tell you about the sponsor of today's video, who's also got some really cool stuff to go collect. Shop Titans is back with a banger, including a new champion to collect, a new content pass, a new promo code you can use after you download using the link in the description. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This video is sponsored by the makers of Shop Titans, whom you've seen on my channel before, going way back to the launch of the game when I made videos covering it, and I can tell you from extensive firsthand experience, this is a fun game to play. So what is Shop Titans? It's a shop management role-playing game where you collect champions and heroes, level them up, go on quests, build up your collection of equipment and incredible arsenal of weapons and power-ups to slay bosses and build up your shop empire. Yup, it's fun, and you won't be playing alone because you'll be working with a community where you build up your empire and town together. And now's an incredible time to use the link in the description to download for iOS, Android, or Steam, because for the first time in 2 years, they're releasing a new champion that's Malady. And she's a Medusa, cursed with the power to turn you to stone. Well, more likely your enemies to stone. And you can send her out with your heroes to earn powerful rewards. Embrace your inner Medusa with Malady, and also with the content pass, which includes Medusa-inspired furniture and weapons. And while you're embracing your inner Medusa, use code Medusa starting from August 19th through September 19th to get a bunch of in-game goodies. Use the link in the description and in the pinned comment to download. Using that link will support my channel. And thank you again to the makers of Shop Titans for sponsoring this video. This is Afonso, which according to Wikipedia, he was a Portuguese general, admiral, and statesman and conquistador. Okay, now this makes sense as an admiral that he's got the boat animation, which like is really, really cool as an animation. But at the end of the day, the cosmetics are great, but if you don't absolutely wreck in the field, like you're either QSH or you ain't. So are you very powerful? Let's get a look. The active skill does require rage. It's a 1000 requirement. It does AOE damage. If the target is not up close, you're going to deal range damage to 3 enemy troops near the target, 800 factor. Every additional target reduces damage to each target by 15% and reduces their damage dealt by 10% for 2 seconds. Now look, ranged skill damage is in a really weird place. Ranged in general is so busted that they have to reduce the damage factors dramatically compared to what you'd see for typical open field. So I look at that 800 number, and normally, you release a commander in 2025, and you're like, trust me, bro, 800 AOE damage factor. I'd be like, I don't think so. Obviously not. But in a situation where you can attack for free, at your leisure, I could see it. Reduces their damage dealt also by 10% for 2 seconds. So we've got damage and a debuff. Now, if the commander's troop is up close and personal with the current target, then you're going to deal range direct damage factor to up to 3 enemy troops near that target, 1,500 factor, reduced by 15% for each additional target, and for the next 2 seconds, up to 5 nearby, 5 of them, nearby allied or friendly troops, including this commander's troop, takes 10% less damage. So that's you and 4 others take 10% less damage. So the interesting thing about this design that I like is it seems as though he's actually meant to like stick it out and not just like run away at the first opportunity. I mean, running away will still be your best strategy with Siege if you're getting pushed, but like he seems like he's pretty effective when the enemy gets up close. And on the topic of running away, he does have 20% march speed, 20% health, and 10% attack. I mean, it's 35% of stats, and 20% of march speed is quite good in a second scale these days. Then, when this commander's troop deals ranged skill damage while in ranged mode, you take 5% less damage for the next 10 seconds, but it stacks 4 times. So you're going to be taking 20% less damage, which actually seems insane. And it is going to take you 4 skill cycles to get there, I think. Maybe not even, actually. Whenever you do this, there's no cooldown on how fast you stack. Okay, 20% less damage. You need to set up. There's a setup time, but that seems really good. And then the next skill. What does this do? Whenever this commander's troop launches a ranged basic attack, there's a 30% chance that if the enemy is not up close, you're going to deal 300 damage factor and reduce their march speed. Okay, so if the enemy's far away, you have a 30% chance of doing instant proc damage for 300 factor and slowing the enemy, and it's got a 5-second cooldown. If they are right up on top of you, then you're going to deal 500 factor and increase their damage received by 5%. So you make them take more damage, you debuff them. It's definitely an interesting commander. A lot of emphasis on buffing and debuffing, but not to the tier of like Mulan, but more as like an accessory to what this commander's doing. Kind of like a Joan Prime type of buff debuff, maybe even a little more than that. Let's continue on here. The Lion of the Sea. This enhances, so this must be the expertise. It enhances the prior skill we were just talking about. So now we get a 50% chance when you're launching a basic attack to do the instant proc damage of 400 now when they're far away with a 15% slow. So it's 100 more factor and 5% more slow. And if they are right up on top of you, we're adding 200 factor, now going up to 700. And we're also increasing the damage received to the target by an extra 5%. So that's 10% extra damage taken by the target. So at the core here, what we have is a AOE skill damage commander that is going to debuff enemies as he hits them, making it so that they do less damage. He is literally providing cover for your up-close troops, which is pretty legit. And, you know, when you get pressured, I feel like he's slightly better than average for a ranged commander, for sort of being incentivized to stick your ground instead of roaching out. But let's go actually get a closer look here at who you would pair with, because I actually have 2 commanders in mind. All right, we filter by engineering here. And the first commander I have in mind as a pairing is Steven. And you may be like, okay, just cool, but why? Well, right over here, this commander's troop deals 10% more range skill damage. And whenever their troop deals range skill damage, you have a 20% chance to deal range direct damage to up to 3 enemy troops near the target, damage factor of 500. Now, this has a cooldown of 10 seconds. Okay. But you're going to be doing a lot of range skill damage on the new commander. Enhancing that skill damage by 10% is pretty decent. The rest of the kit, how synergistic is it? I mean, you're doing range skill damage over here and mighty healing, so you've got like some amount of sustain potentially. The mighty heal component, if we just get a closer look at this, you're exposing your enemy. Whenever this commander's troop launches a ranged basic attack on an exposed troop, you are going to mighty heal. So there's like a sustain and damage option if you go with Steven. You've got defense and march speed, range counterattack damage reduction, also a chance to get a bonus to range normal damage dealt. I mean, he's kind of doing a bunch of stuff. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Maybe you could go this way. I got another one to pair with you, but before I mention that, I will point out that depending on your philosophy, I feel like the support talent tree on the new commanders may be more about damage mitigation. So Steven also could be good for the skill tree, potentially. All right. Then we go over here to John. Now, John is kind of an interesting option. You'd make him the primary. You're not getting a new talent option. You've got engineering support again. But he makes it so that for the next 3 seconds, you do more range skill damage, and that goes up to 20%. Okay. We see what's going on here. So you use him as the primary. You enhance your range skill damage dealt, and then you do AOE skill damage. And this helps give you some context around the kind of damage that you normally see and why the 800 hitting 3 targets is kind of a big deal, right? Because what this commander is doing is only 900 damage factor to 1 target. He's also got a buff, in fairness, right? But it contextualizes the 800 factor to 3 targets as like, okay, this most likely will cook, and ranged is, again, so good that the damage factor scaling needs to be different than the marches that get up close, okay? So also worth mentioning here, actually, rage gain speed is huge. This is actually like very, very punchy. 30% attack, 15% speed of rage gained is like very punchy. When you use an active skill, you have a chance to do extra range damage. All right, seems good. And then what do we do here? Oh, more damage to weak troops. Dude, you farm up those trades. I don't know. If I were to wave a magic wand, I would probably, between the two of these guys, potentially pair with the John. If I could have them maxed to use. That's probably the route that I would go. And then you've got the old school Bobber. Oh my goodness. He's just straight up skill damage dealt. Some boosts here. Yeah, I mean, I think this is what I like about Bobber, and I remember about him is the rage gained after using an active skill. That's an engine right there, folks. You love to see that. But I think I might lean toward pairing with John. There's also the Season 2. Is it Season 2? Legendary Siege that, like, I've really not covered very much. But I suppose we could get a look to see, like, hey, if you were a newer player, would you potentially pair one of these commanders with the new guy? I mean, you've got a bunch of damage factor. We go in and we get a bonus to damage dealt based on distance from the target. And I don't know. I'm not necessarily convinced that these commanders are the pair. Let's look at this one real quick. So you do damage factor, additional range damage factor every second. Okay, we got attack and march speed. Oh, there is range skill damage boost over here. That is an option. If the troop's target is currently receiving, this is a damage over time synergy. Right, okay. This is the thing about the formation system being tied to, like, entering into ranged mode, is like they can't really do too much of a lock-in to, like, synergies in the same way that you can with normal marches. In other words, like, yes, you can skew an army towards skill damage or mighty healing or shielding or any of those things or basic attacks. But the formation never really supports that. Whatever you're going to do with the formation is going to be whatever the legendary inscriptions are offering you, right? And if we hit that codex for the formation, sharpshooter, ranged normal damage dealt, all right? When you launch a ranged basic, you have a 10% chance to spend 50 rage to increase the damage of the attack by 50%. Drilled, ranged normal damage dealt. You see what's going on here? Okay, and you can get a bonus to ranged normal damage. Merciless, skill damage resistance, attack of siege, astute. Right. Like, maybe they'll add a new ranged formation. Maybe that's what they'll do. Oh my god, hadn't even occurred to me. I guess they could add a new ranged formation that's like, this is the ranged normal formation, and then there's a ranged skill formation. But it looks like, with the release of this new commander, they're kind of pushing things in the direction of, like, trust me, bro, ranged skill damage. We're making it great. We'll see what happens, man. I generally think that ranged is incredibly powerful. Skill damage, not skill damage. Bro, it's powerful. And I stand by that. One of these days, I'll make a siege army myself. But But until then, chat, until then, I got to go prep for my matchup here. Holy smokes, this is going to be something this weekend. GG, the Supreme Strife. If you enjoyed the video, throw a like on here, subscribe. Big thank you again to Shop Titans for sponsoring this video. I've played and enjoyed the heck out of Shop Titans, so if you want to go check them out, you can use the link in the description to download the game. Using that link will support my channel, and I'm going to have cards in the end screen for some Shop Titans content that I put on the channel recently, relatively recently, where I revisited the game and had a great time. All right, until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies. Take care, everybody.